I'm tough in my demands because I think the game is tough. I think if you're tough on them, they'll stand up to mental pressure that comes on in the grand final.
We come from a soft, bloody, cushy life. But out here, it ain't. It just isn't soft. Because there's a bloke in another jumper always trying to gun you down.
Michael Williamson welcoming you to the grand final of 1975, North Melbourne versus Hawthorn.
If you win this, you'll be remembered forever.
The hairs on my back are going up. Still feel like I'd race out of the room now.
It'll be the danger player, Sam, slamming Sam Kekovich.
It was a nightmare and it will never go away.
I hate Hawthorn, but I totally admire them.
Well, how can you beat them in the grand final? You haven't beaten them all year.
We were confident about winning this game. We had no reason not to be.
It was just a very emotional time, I can tell you.
Take the risk. If you make the mistake and if you do it and it doesn't come off, do it again. Do it again and keep doing it. That way, we'll either get beaten by 20 goals or we'll win.
So it goes in the 74 grand final. Richmond 18-20, 128. North Melbourne 13-9, 87. 3 years ago, they were nothing. Barassi has done a marvellous job to get him in this position.
We'd come from bottom to sixth, and we played off in a grand final and thrashed by Richmond.
We just put on a very ordinary performance. And I can remember the night we met at the social club.
While somewhat depressed, looking forward to having quite a convivial evening over the drip tray.
No one likes losing, but we like to drink. So it's Saturday night, we're entitled to have a drink. But when he's on his throne, he's on his throne. Everybody takes notice when Ron's not happy, and he wasn't happy.
A tirade of invective was tipped over us, and I mean unbridled abuse.
You can't be happy just to get to a grand final. It's the idea is to win the grand final.
It's the most vilifying, most ferocious verbal attack that I think I'd ever experienced.
Didn't go down very well with a lot of people, and a lot of people were really upset about that.
What he said might have upset a few of the people, but that was Barassi.
We shouldn't be satisfied with ourselves. I'm very annoyed to see some of you still laughing.
Barassi was determined after that grand final and that night when he really got into us that it wasn't going to happen again the next year.
Footballers today need a great deal more than just talent. The factors which are necessary for success: strength, suppleness, stamina, speed, and skill.
As a footballer in those days, it was a fantastic period. It was highly competitive, it was tribal.
We all worked, we had to work. We didn't have any computers, we didn't have any mobile phones.
You had your job, and the football was very serious. You always realised that it wasn't your main job.
Had a beautiful home out in Surrey Hills. Bought it for $32,000, would you believe, in those times?
The hair was a little bit longer.
We all had a lot more hair in those days, and the sideys.
Life generally, I don't think, was much different than it is now. You had as much fun as you could.
You have a few drinks on Saturday night, Sunday night, Monday night.
Oh, wow, wait. That was jolly good fun, that was, I'll tell you. You all tore around like racing greyhounds, didn't you? We'll be finding out in just a couple of jiffs who will be competing for that superstar grand prize of a magnificent General Electric 19-inch portable TV.
With colour TV sets due on the market in August, the local industry has been gearing up for the new product.
Colour TV, what a huge thing.
I actually won a colour television over in Adelaide, and it was fantastic. I thought, how are we going to get a TV? But we got one through that way.
The very last word in colour television. It enables you to change channels at the touch of a button, and you don't even have to leave your armchair.
It was a great era, 75, but it was all about football for me then.
It's been a great week in Melbourne. The people of Melbourne have been talking nothing else but the grand final. There's not much difference between these two teams, but the only reason I've gone for Hawthorn, they've beaten them 3 times for the year.
I really went to the game that day expecting we'd come off with a premiership medal.
Well, we should win this, and we should win it easily.
They had the wood on us during the year because we never beat them all year. Well, how can you beat them in the grand final? You haven't beaten them all year.
I hate Hawthorn, but I totally admire them. They had their own little culture, their own way they went about things, and you really admire that.
I was quite confident that, one, that they were beatable, and two, that we could be good enough to beat them. You can't be in fear of them.
It was a very, very heavy week for us, as they say, because we had a very traumatic experience with Peter Crimmins, who'd struggled all the year to be in the team.
It was mid-season, he was diagnosed with testicular cancer and was operated on, and he slowly sort of got better and started to train.
He was desperate to get a game, and he trained so hard to get there, and he was still battling cancer at the time, and unfortunately the match committee said no.
The responsibility for Peter being in the side or out of the side was mine.
Crimo was very disappointed and upset about the whole decision. Didn't go to the game in 75, didn't go. He was just so disappointed.
Wasn't right, didn't feel right. We weren't on, it was flat when it shouldn't have been.
I personally felt gutted. I remember training with him on Thursday, and until I got to the game on Saturday, I had no idea that he wasn't going to be part of our side. And to be told that prior to running out, it left a lot of us flat.
If you're feeling tired, just think of Crimmins. He's home, he's not here. He brought his insides up this morning, he's vomiting. He's not here. You weren't at the match committee on Thursday night, as I was, when we had a big argument as to whether he ought to be in or out, and everybody spoke his mind and he finished up out. He's not happy, he wasn't happy about it. Who would be? Barassi has said they're going to win this game, wet or dry, and the crowd will be hollering for them. Everything will be running for North Melbourne. Football is a game that you blokes took on under the one contract. You put your eye on the ball and you go at it with everything you've got and more. And you've got to do this or you're not fit to be wearing the Guernsey. All of your families are here watching the game. Just think of them sitting up there and they've got to hear people standing around saying so-and-so squibbed it. Now, don't have that said about you. Better be carted off than have anybody say so-and-so squibbed it. Think of the humiliation of the people who are watching it. The name of Hawthorn has got to be respected by North Melbourne, and the name of Matthews has got to be respected by North Melbourne, just as the name of Trott and the name of Ablett and Martello and Hendry. They've got to know after today. You've got to show them.
Can we say with a certain amount of certainty that Doug Wade will be in and Barry Goodingham will be in?
Who in their wildest dreams would have think that Doug Wade would have been dropped on the eve of a grand final? But he was.
I'd heard that I wasn't in the team. That was my whole reason to go to North. I wanted to play in their first ever grand final.
Back in the match committee room, there's a knock on the door, and in comes Doug Wade.
Put my case that, they wouldn't let them down. Barassi said, look, we'll let you know.
I mean, it sounds very amateurish today. To think that a player could talk his way back into a side, but Doug did. Doug did.
He said, we've decided to put you in the team, but under my conditions. I said, well, what's that? He said, I don't want you to go for one mark during the match. You've got to stay down. Don't go for a mark. I said, why is this? He said, well, you just leave it to me.
The dynamic Ron Barassi, who's lifted North Melbourne from obscurity. I suppose we could term him as Mr. Football.
Right, boys, in the room. 11 guys out of 20 were here 4 years ago when you were just a bum side. Those horrible years at North Melbourne, they'll fade very, very quickly if we can get a flag.
Since our inception in 1925, a 50-year period, we'd been bereft of any success. And I remember walking into the North Melbourne Social Club and emblazoned on the wall, the first 20 players that bring home North Melbourne's first ever premiership will gain football immortality. I thought, what the heck does this mean? They've had obviously spare space, couldn't afford the artwork, so they've put up some scriptures.
They were desperate to win it, and you can understand that after 50 years not winning a premiership. And we knew that.
Ron Barassi in the North Melbourne dressing room, well, you can imagine. It was like Vesuvius going off.
I spoke on Thursday night about that Herald poster. I'll tell you what happens to that poster. There's 25,000 each printed.
Both sheets were done to get the right one out on time, not to be caught by an underdog team winning. As soon as I heard that, I thought,
As soon as that siren goes, a truck with the 25,000 of the losing side goes to the shredder. There's the Herald poster we want, and this is what we don't want to happen to us.
Do you want to be the one to be tore up? Now, that's very simple. No, we don't.
All our plans are laid. All it needs now is your minds and your hearts on the job. And you will bloody come in here so happy. And you'll be bloody worthy winners because you've given me all the support that you possibly can. All it remains is for you to get out there and give your teammates all the support you can. And let's go! Come on!
He willed us that this was our day. If you win this, you'll be remembered forever.